it's an elite level advice he's giving you to make those changes, I believe. What do you think?
No, I agree, and I think he does a great job, saying that, hey, this is what I am working on. This doesn't mean this is what anyone else should work on. So he does a good job kind of prefacing it with all these different things. But I do think there are little things that a lot of swimmers can take from. One, just analyzing themselves and critiquing themselves, because a lot of swimmers aren't doing that enough or not watching film enough. I'm still shocked that so many swim teams aren't doing film review and things like that, just seeing themselves out of the water and then trying to implement it, or watching themselves directly after they're swimming. Even at elite colleges, they don't have as much video, interaction as I think they would. But I don't know. I think it's fun to watch. I'm having a fun time watching it. Brian, what do you think?
Well, one of the things that struck me, that he said that he didn't really love watching his races.
Mm-hmm.
So while he's doing it now, I remember, I think it was the 100 fly, where he said, I don't really love watching my races. It's not something that I like doing. I don't go back and, and I think, okay, so is that the message that he's sending? Is he promoting that this is a good behavior to do, or is he doing it because people are asking him to, and
he's bored out of his mind?
So I'm of the belief that, Luke, you were just swimming in the endless pool this week, and I think there's a ton of value in immediate feedback. And we used to train we would do starts with a camera on. It's TiVo those days, and you'd just have it on, like, I don't know what it was, maybe a minute and a half delay, and so you could do starts and then go out to the TV and watch your start and back it up and forward it, and then then we go do another start, and just that real-time feedback, or pretty real-time feedback, I think is really helpful. And I think I think for most athletes it is helpful to watch some aspects of it, but you have people like Caeleb who are focused on a few specific things, especially the distance of his races. There can't be more than three or four things that he's thinking about doing. The rest of them have to be completely automatic, that are an outcome of training and a lot of the prep work and all the races in season and all that stuff. All that stuff aren't things that he thinks about, and you distill it down to, these are the things that I think about. So I think that we see that in some of the review is his perspective on, okay, what are the things that Caeleb's thinking about? And that is interesting to me, because you hear, okay, well, it's details. It's start and breakout. It's, well, I was a little long on this wall. Well, lifted my head up there. I shouldn't be doing that. Stupid mistake. I always do this. I appreciate his candor.
Yeah.
In that
age group mistake.
But I think it's that to me is the takeaway. I think especially if I'm a young swimmer, is what is it that someone at his level is thinking about, and you can tell based on his critique what he's thinking about. It's not everything, and that's true. You can't race and think about all of the things. You just have to have most of it be automatic. That's an outcome of practice. And then there's a few things that you can think about in the race, and you have to distill it down to those few things. It happens too fast. Especially, he's swimming 2 laps faster than, I'm swimming 1 lap, but...
Here's what you can take away from what he does too. It's how he breaks down, how he looks at his film. He always makes, and this is really good advice, that's how I did it with my athletes when I coached. You gotta watch it in real time. So he watched it in real time, he didn't comment, and then he went back and he watched it frame by frame. And you need to see that, you need to see it next to the other athletes. And also, he wasn't only harsh about himself. He did talk about when he did good stuff.
Yeah.
So he was a positive reaffirmation of what you did. And that's really important as well. So like, oh yeah, he always said, I'm going to maintain and keep working on what I'm good at, but I'm going to focus on what I need to work on. So he did both. And a lot of people, a lot of coaches especially, not only say, that's really bad, John, your feet splashed in, but he gave an example of how he could correct his feet splashing in. He didn't say, don't let your feet splash in. And that's something that's always like, it annoys me so much. Oh, you're not finishing your stroke. Well, that's the symptom. And you as a PT always talk about what's the cause. Why aren't you finishing your stroke? Look at your hip rotation. Exactly. Look at your extension. Look at your core instability. Right?
And I think you mentioned a huge point there, is watching it in real time. Because obviously you break frame by frame. Oh, these bubbles are releasing here. This is happening. There's tons of flaws that all elite athletes do when you watch it frame by frame. But as we know, in the water with the water that's obviously always changing and things like that, nothing is ever going to be perfect. So it's figuring out what exactly is the result that we're trying to achieve, and why did the athlete do it a certain way, and what are the things that are like glaring coming out. And that's probably the stuff that Caeleb is addressing a lot. Like you said, it's just having a few focal points and things like that. But one thing that interests me with what you were saying is that, you know, he said that he doesn't watch his races much. Is watching your races kind of like listening to yourself talk, and that is something that really takes a lot of reflection and maturity to be able to do with some benefit?